I know. I know. Yep.
Okay, we're on.
Sounds good.
We're on. All right. So, hey, Will, how's it going?
Hey, Kai, how's it going?
I'm doing well. So, today, thank you for hopping on this call with me and to share with people my age, like in their 20s, and how to start a business and how to be successful. So, let's start by you want to tell us a little bit about yourself first, like
Oh, well, that's a lot.
three.
That's a real tough question. No, I mean, I always tell people that I wasn't a great student in school, but the only thing I knew was accounting, and and there was always someone who impacted my life to change my life and to make me where I am today. So with every bad thing that happened in my life, something positive came out of it. So for me, like I said, I never finished college, but I took all my accounting classes. The best experience that I ever had, that I think everybody should go through, is opening and starting a business, because I think the opportunity is much better there for them than being in the rat race and stuff like that. So even before I started ProBooks, I was in an office supply printing business with my friends in Chinatown, and we were a bunch of guys. I didn't know where I wanted to do in life, so I said, when my friend asked me, "You want to get into business?" I said, "Sure, why not?" I was in my 20s, and I said, "I got nothing else to do with my time." So, and I wasn't going back to school because it wasn't in me to go back to school. So what I ended up doing was we went to business. I learned the skill of selling, and I think that if I got anything from being in business with my friend, I got into the skill. I learned the skill of selling and interacting with people, just not being afraid to walk up to people and just talk to them. And I think that skill carried me on to where I am today, because I just know that if you put me in a room when I don't know anybody, I'll talk to anyone. And I think that was probably one of the best things I learned about being in business, in addition to being in business. So, so after 3 years of doing that, I was making $100 a week, I was making $100 a week, working 60-hour weeks, but the thrill of owning my own business um, was it. And then after 3 years, I said, I got to do something else. I got to do something else. And then the girl I was dating at the time, she said, I overheard a conversation between her and her best friend. She goes, Will's a real nice guy, but what does he really have to offer you in life? And their conversation changed my life, because at the time I was living at home, driving a beat up car, had no future, had no career. It wasn't even the girl was after money. It was just that she wanted to know that someone could take care of her, which I thought was very important at the time. And then I think a couple months later, she broke up with me. But then I also broke up with that business I was in and just started taking those part-time jobs, accounting, bookkeeping jobs. And so I built it to where it is today and stuff like that. But everything that happened in my life was for a reason. Having that girl, hearing that conversation, kicking myself in the head, saying I got to do something in my life. Those were probably the best turning points in my life. And like I always tell you, Kai, where everything bad that happens, something good comes out of it. So
Sounds like my life minus the breakup with the girl. Like except I got married, you know what I mean? But
you did the opposite.
I did the opposite. That's right. So wow. So prior to you starting that printing, thank you for sharing that. So prior to starting that printing business,
Mhm.
what did you do like before that? Like, did you do like odd jobs? Like, did you do
Oh man, I don't even remember.
like were you like a chef? Were you like a
No,
delivery
no, no,
boy?
no.
Like,
Oh,
what did
oh,
you do?
oh. So even
You went to
before,
school.
so I went to school. I graduated. Well, I never graduated, but I was going to college in and out. I was just bouncing between Baruch and BMCC, and I was just taking class here and there, thinking that my goal was to get the degree and stuff like that.
But you were living at home, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
was. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was living at home.
but were you living with like siblings? Like,
Just my parents and my brother. Yeah, my parents and my brother and stuff like
okay.
that. So
So that's how you were able to like
yeah,
get by.
survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably in my mid 20s and stuff. And I just, like I said, the future was just getting up every day, and that was it. I didn't know where I was gonna do, what was gonna happen to me. So it's definitely perseverance is a good word.
Sounds like my life.
Ah,
honestly. No,
well,
that's why I wanted to do this with you because
yeah,
honestly, Will, nowadays, like we live in New York and we know how much the rent is. And
yeah,
it's not even just about the rent, it's being
yeah,
able to even qualify to be
absolutely,
able to live in an
absolutely.
apartment or even to buy a house. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
realistically, a lot of college kids they coming out, they're living with their parents.
yeah.
You see people in their 30s. So that's why I'm asking you these questions, like not
Oh,
because
they're great
because I
questions.
feel like it could really if people hear this,
Yeah.
like because I could resonate with that.
Ah,
I
it's
don't
great.
live with my parents, but I see a lot of people, who do and stuff like that. And it's good to know like how you got out of that,
Yeah, I mean, we were
with
talking
no
before.
degree.
Yeah, we were talking before about like what I think 20-year-olds should know and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And if I can go back in my life, what would I tell myself, or what would I do differently and stuff like that? To be honest, I always tell people everything I learned, it wasn't from school. I mean, you learned the foundation. I learned accounting from school, so I couldn't say that I didn't learn any skills. I learned
Yeah.
accounting from skills. I mean accounting from school, and but I learned everything else on my own. I tell people that my financial literacy, my entrepreneurial skills are all from going Barnes and Nobles. That was it. I was going to Barnes and Nobles. I would go out with Jack. We would go grab lunch. And after that, we walk up to Barnes and Nobles in Chinatown. That was my education. That was the only way. I continued just reading my magazines, like entrepreneurial, money magazine, Forbes magazine. I just kept reading it. That was
So
my education. So
so how come you were able to consistently do that with your buddy Jack, right? Like go to
yeah,
Barnes and Nobles and read all that stuff. But then how come you didn't have it in you to finish school? Because honestly, in college, it's all
yeah,
about reading. It's all
yeah.
about doing your own research. So why
Yeah.
why couldn't you finish that, but you could, go to Barnes and Nobles and read?
That's a good question, man. But I think I was more passionate about
One
about
subject.
yeah, I was more passionate about that than learning Spanish. I was more passionate about that than
I hear you.
learning more. Yeah, yeah. So I think passion plays a role in everything, and passion doesn't. You can't deposit passion and pay your bills.
I got kicked out of my Spanish class.
But passion is something that if you it's just like you read a lot, I read a lot. You
Yeah,
pick up a book, and throughout, if you read the first chapter of the book, you're passionate about it or
yeah,
not. So that
absolutely.
was probably the same thing I was doing in college. I would go to class and I was like, this is freaking boring. Why do I need this? Or I couldn't get my head into it and stuff like that. Why do I need to do this? And I, I was never, I was probably never good at staying focused, but I don't know. I mean, if you give me something I'm interested in, I'll stay focused and stuff like that. And going back to the thing about like, what would I tell myself to do, or what did I do when I was
Mhm.
younger that impacted me now? And like I tell you, the investment thing is important. Learning how to invest when you're younger is so important, because if you do it now, if you do all the right things, save consistently, average it out, the S&P over 20 or 30 years, when you're 40 or 50 years old, you'll be sitting with a close to $1 million. Then you don't have to take that shitty job. Then you don't have to deal with shitty bosses, because you did things when you were young that will impact you later on. And for me, investing was always that one thing that you know you read about it, and you just keep doing it consistent long term, and you'll be able to have that nest egg. You may look at it now like, oh shit, this is taking money away from me, but long term wise, and with the market the way it is, average it out, you'll be fine. And then you'll be kicking yourself in the head like, shit, I should have invested more. But that is one thing. One of the other important things that I think that is important is just to be open minded,
Mhm.
because once you're open minded, then the world is there for you. If you say you know it all and you think you know it all, you're never going to win. Because I could say, oh, I know everything about stocks, I'm not going to learn anything new. Or I could say, I know everything about business, I'm not going to learn anything new. I'm not going to do anything different. I'm not going to, but for me, once you're open-minded when you're younger, you're open-minded when you're older, you learn new things. You're like, oh, let me learn that skill. Let me see something else. Like the side hustle things I've been talking to you about. I just feel like, I have my own business and stuff like that, but I'm open to doing side hustles, because I was just always open-minded when I was younger, and I want to be open-minded now. And I think that for me is so important because if you think you know everything, you're just never gonna be rich and stuff like that and successful. You gotta be, how should I say? You gotta be a detective. You gotta be curious about learning. You gotta always want to learn and stuff like that. So, what else did I want
I
to?
agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Go on. What
No,
else?
no. Like I said, those two key things will probably carry you a long way. And then, of course, the other thing, like I always said, is owning a business, starting a business, and starting a business and a side hustles are two different things because owning a business, that means that's your full time thing. But side hustles are also things that you could do on the side on top of your full time thing. And I think like even for me, the business is my full time thing, but I also want to do side hustles because I just think there's opportunities out there to make money um, outside of your regular 9 to 5 job or your regular 9 to 5 business. And there's opportunities out there. And if you're open minded about it, you're like, wow, you explore it and stuff like that. So opening a business and developing side hustles because your side hustle could eventually become your full time business or full time job. So there's so many great stories about people who started small and just built it to something big. And that's the stories that you need to hear, those inspirations and stuff.
And that's the story I want to hear from you today, which is why we're doing this, right? So like I said, I wrote a few questions down, and
Sure.
so so you start so you were living with your parents and your siblings in your
Yep.
mid 20s, going to school, and then eventually you dropped out of school,
Yep.
and then you started the printing business with a few friends, right?
Yep. Yep.
So how were you able to get the initial investment to start with that?
Oh, it was kind of a friend thing. My friend asked me, do you want to join us? You give sweat equity and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And
So they put the money and you just did the work.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So,
that's beautiful.
well, what ended up happening later on was that when I wanted to leave the business, I had some debt. And I always remember one of the partners said to me, because I said, "Oh, I should get paid back my debt." He says, basically, he said, "You took the risk. You take the risk. You have to pay for the risk." And that was, I mean, that was a little cheesy move at the time, but you know
Wait,
what?
so you're saying that that partnership that you were in,
Yeah,
because your name was on it and the company itself
yeah,
had that
yeah.
that you had to pay it as well?
No, it was my own personal debt that I used
Oh,
later on to put into the business. It was basically like a credit card I used.
oh, that's what I'm saying.
Oh
That's
yeah,
how
yeah,
you got your capital. You
yeah.
opened up a credit card and
Yeah,
you.
but that was later on. I mean, at the beginning, it was just sweat equity, but later on, I think the business needed some money, so I put it in. And then, I looked at it back then as like, oh, that sucks. I got to pay. It wasn't too much. It was like maybe $13,000 to $15,000, but I was able to get some.
That's a lot for a
I know,
20
but
something year old, and
I
like
know,
not trying to not trying to be an asshole, but like
yeah,
at that time 15,
yeah,
I mean 15,000 is a lot in any time,
I
but
know, I know,
if you look at the inflation rates and stuff like that, it was worth even more then,
yeah.
because we're
Well,
talking like what, like 20 years ago, right?
yeah, at least, but
Yeah,
for me, it was like, I was so proud that I took these part-time jobs. I still remember the jobs I took. I took two two bookkeeping jobs, and it was paying me like $15 an hour. I was working a 40-hour week, making $600, and I was able to pay it off. And when I did pay it off, it just felt so gratifying because like I always tell you, in my life, no one gave me anything. I never had a silver spoon, and that's part of me too. I always think like everything I gotten in life, I earned. It wasn't like someone gave me the business, no one gave me my house. And for me, it was just it's more fulfilling for me to pay off that debt and say, you know what, good. I learned a lot. That was my education. Actually, in retrospect, I have to say it was probably my education, paying for college. That's the way I looked at it. That's the way I look at it now. I mean, that working in that business, like I said, I was just going to people trying to sell and stuff, and it was just they don't teach you that in school. I mean, for me, that 15 grand, and I look back at it, that was my education, man. If I
so that
didn't
was
have
a
it,
loss, right? The 15 grand was
yeah,
definitely a loss, right? Okay.
nah, it wasn't. Well, money wise, it was a loss. Education wise, it taught me
Yeah,
how to
yeah, of
sell.
course.
Yeah, and that's
That's
that, that's why I said like everything in life, good or bad. I
mhm.
mean, when bad things happen, something you have to find that little the little sunshine and everything. You have
Yeah,
to.
like I always like to say, a lot of people, they want to jump into a business full time, and it's not realistic
Yeah.
because business is like a sport, and there's a lot of skills, like you said, you
Yep.
need to know. You got to know how to sew, you got to
Yep.
do X, Y, and Z. So that's why a lot of people, they have this idea, and then they got a little money, and they think they could create a successful business out of it, but that's not the case,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, 9 out of 10 times, they're gonna fail, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like you said, you could cash in on your mistakes. You could
Yeah.
cash in on your failures later on. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what you did, right? Because
Well, like I always said, you have to fail. You could fail a lot in business, but you only need one to be successful, and then that's everything else is forgotten. I mean, I've always been entrepreneur even before that business. I was like, I remember I bought a it's crazy. I bought a rubber stamp machine, the stamps and stuff like that. And I was trying to do rubber stamps for my friends and stuff, and that didn't go well. I sold stuff on eBay. I did a lot of things to try to get into business, and I failed a lot. And I
so
of
when you saw my resume, it kind of reminded of you, right?
course, man, of course. Like I said,
You were like, you did a lot of things. I remember the first time we spoke on the
yeah.
phone. You were
I
like,
mean, the skill set that you have goes a long way. If you ask me one skill that I think that everybody in their 20s should have is being able to talk to people, to carry a conversation, to be able to interact with people, and it's not always about selling. And like for me, I always think selling is not the objective. Every time you meet a prospect or a new client, the objective is not to sell them something. The objective is to persuade them to be on your side, not to be on your side, but to understand who you are and how to relate to you and stuff like that. Because whatever product or service you sell is meaningless. If they don't trust you, they're not going to give you business anyway. So for me, the art of persuasion and just getting trust goes a long way. And I think that's like for me, selling is that way. I don't. I always tell people, you give your best pitch, and they don't respond or they choose someone else. In the back of my mind, I'm always like, it's their loss. And you have to do that because being in sales or whatever you do in business, persuading people, not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone's going to agree with your tactics. Not everyone's going to agree about who you are and stuff like that. That's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. And the more that you are genuine, the more opportunities
mhm,
you'll have. Because if you just fake it, you're not gonna, you got to be genuine. Like you and I
exactly.
talk. This is the way I talk to everybody. The way I talk to clients. Sometimes even with the way I talk to my kids. So
But no, that's good because yeah, like you said, it's important to be able to talk to people, but at the same time, do you
yeah,
feel like because we're really advancing into like a technological age, and a lot of the selling is done online right now, right? Like
yeah,
through copywriting, as
yeah,
we were talking about. Do
yep.
you feel like being able to talk to people is as important as how like it was like before, or like right now,
You
like in
you
the
know
future? Do you think
no.
being able to talk to people is still important?
For the younger generation, I don't think so. I think
Right.
you being able, like when you were telling me about stuff that you're doing on Instagram, and even the tax woman that you're working with, I thought that was insane. But that's the way the younger generation resonates with people on Instagram or TikTok or
But at
whatever.
the same time,
Yeah.
even though we may not like, I notice a lot of people, they're not very they're not that eloquent.
Hmm.
Like they don't really know how to interact with people.
Yep.
But maybe they could type. They could type really well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or do a
Because
nice video or something like that.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So I feel like I think people would still need to be able to talk to people, like
yeah.
you said.
Yep.
But I feel like the
Yeah,
writing skills need to be even more on point.
yeah, yeah.
Like the
I think
grammar and everything.
you know what it is? It's what we say about the art of persuasion, right? Whatever business you get into, the
Yeah.
first thing you need to do is catch people's attention, right?
Mhm.
Once you catch people's attention, then it becomes about the closing, right? Catching the attention of someone with a copyright or a sales video or stuff like that, it's important. Like you might hit. I think video becomes more important in selling because you can you can portray or dictate the problem. Like you could write a problem, say you're having a problem getting clients, or you could do a video and say, are you having problems getting clients, right? It's more genuine if you see a video of
The
someone saying
energy,
that. Yeah, the energy, like I
the
said,
energy.
definitely, definitely. You can't show the energy in copyright where it said, are you having problems getting clients? You
Yeah,
can't
it's
put on a
according to
video.
the tone. It's according to the tone of the reader. Because
Absolutely.
if the reader is slow, it's like, do you
Yeah,
have?
yeah, yeah, exactly,
But then when
exactly.
you see my video, it's like, hey, do you have? Like
Yeah,
it's different. Yeah, I
yeah.
get what you're saying.
So that part of it too is, I think, what people really need to make sure of is like, it's still, you're going to grab someone's attention. Any business you do, you grab people's attention with a video, a copyright letter, a sales letter, or what have you. Grab it, but you still need to make that call to confirm the deal, to close the deal. 90% of the deal is done, and once they read the copyright and all that stuff, the
Hmm.
last 10% is for you to close, and that could be via email, via whatever. But um, I have to say, like most of the clients that I've been getting lately, I don't think I ever met them face to face. I don't even think I Zoomed them. And I think, I I think I spoke to them on the phone, and I think I
Hmm.
closed it because, like I said, that's the whole thing. You still need to talk to people to be able to express. First of all, you're an expert at what you do. You can't really do that by copyright. You can't really do that by videos. Someone's got to actually talk to you. So, because a video is very general, out in the public. This is the video. This is Will. This is what he does, right? But an individual talking together, I could target your needs. I could target your problems. Say, oh, I can help you figure that out.
That's
So,
true.
and that part of selling, I think is so true that, you know, 90% of it is getting the attention of people. The rest of the 10% is for you to close via call, via Skype, via Zoom, to be on the same page with people. Because without that, it doesn't matter if you get a million leads or a million contacts if you can't close. And that's what I'm saying. The last 10% is to close. And you always want to talk to people. Why? Because you want to show them that you're an expert at what you do, right? Because you can't do that in a video because a video is very general. But if I talk to someone on the phone, I'm going to hit the key points. I know your problem. I could resonate with you and stuff like that. And then I'm going to close it. And I think to your point, the way we get the leads are going to change. The way people are going to find you is going to change, because it's not like back in the days, like going to the yellow pages or going on Google and finding people. And even like I always tell you, the Google reviews help me a ton to get leads, but I'm not banking on it because I know that was just one part of business. If you just count on that one part and it goes to shit, then you're stuck, right? So you have to have multi levels or multi units, multi ways of getting business. And um, and I, I think it's so true that you got to get to the point where, it's not just one source, it's, multiple sources of getting business. When you have multiple sources, then you're not worried about it. And if you ask me if I'm gonna do, like, the hip stuff, Facebook ads and all that stuff, do I want to? No. Do I have to? Yeah, because you have to adapt. If that's how you get to people, that's how you get to people. If everybody's saying you got to use Facebook ads, Google ads and stuff, and and you're not doing it, then you're going to be left behind. So,
I'm looking at the next question. So
yeah.
no, but I agree with everything you're saying. So Will basically just gave a whole segment of how to sell, right? The
Mhm.
key points: be genuine,
Yep.
right? Be able to talk to people and relate to people,
Yep.
right? So people can resonate with you, and that's the art of persuasion, like you said. It's
Yeah.
not so much convincing, but it's just to get people to be in agreement with you,
Yes. Yes.
and
And I
then
think that goes a long way.
eventually a lot of the way we get clients is going to shift
Mhm.
from like person to person to
Yep.
more you attract them through the internet, and then
Yep.
from the internet then you might have to hop on a call with them,
Yep.
so they can hear your voice, and then you cater to them, and then basically even uh, prove that you're an expert, that you
Yeah.
know what you're talking about, and
Yeah.
then you close it, but then you still got to follow through, obviously, by doing good work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That helps a lot. Doing
Yeah.
good work helps a lot. So,
So I asked you this question. So I asked you if you could go back in time, what would you do differently for your business, like in terms of setting up systems for onboarding a new hire or like clients, etc. Because
yeah.
Because you know we work together, and you know
Yeah,
we're going to clients and stuff like that. So if you
yeah.
were to go back in time, like how would you be able to? How would you
Man,
just
I
handle it, etc.
you know, it's funny. I I was doing I was gonna do a video on that because I have this belief that I was I was pretty organized when I was smaller. When I was smaller, I didn't have as many clients. I didn't have to manage so many people. I was pretty organized. I would stay on top of things. I would have forms and stuff like that. But as I got bigger and stuff like that, I lost some of the skill. I was more focused on other things and stuff like that. And I think for me, the whole thing was like I knew the systems that I needed to put in place, but I wasn't. I can describe it and set it up, but I need someone to follow through on it, and that I think that was the problem. And then what happens in a business is that the culture, if the culture says like being half-assed is the way to go from the beginning, it's harder to change the culture. So what I started saying to myself is like recently, I think last couple months ago, I started saying to myself, do I want to master something that I'm not good at or that I'm not going to like? And like I said, when I first started a business, I was pretty organized. I was on top of it. I knew all the clients. I talked to all the clients. But as you grow, without the systems, you're not going to be able to handle, 10 clients, 20, 30, or 40
You
clients.
can't keep up with everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
awesome.
And then, but then if it's not in your, so the one realization thing is like, for me lately, is like, I always told you, for gratitude and stuff like that, I have a list. It's called the good shit list because every day of your life is a good shit. You have to write it down. You have to remember all the good shits. And so I've always tried to do it every week. I write good shit for the week and stuff like that. And then what I try to do is that I had another list that I came up with. It's the get real list. Get real with yourself, right? So if it's not in my DNA to be organized now, do I really want to force something on myself that I know I dislike and that I know I can't master and stuff like that? Do I want to do that to myself and not move the needle? Because that's what's going to happen. I'll say, Will, I got to get organized. I do my sheets, I do everything, and nobody follows up and no one does it, then I'm discouraged. I don't want to do it anymore, right? So I said to myself, why do I want to do that to myself? Why do I want to set myself up to do something I don't like and stuff? So that's why, like, we got Claire, we got Abigail and stuff like that, the virtual assistants, and they do a lot of the grunt work. So I would try to say, like, I didn't want to be the bottleneck of the business. And that was another thing I always realized. I'm the bottleneck of my business. If I have to make all the final decisions, I'm the bottleneck. If I have to say, hey, Kai, do this. Hey, Claire, do this, I'm the bottleneck. And because of that, the business will never grow. And now the way I look at it with everything happening with the virus and everything, sometimes you have to take a couple of steps back before you can go forward. And I'm okay with everything that's happened. I accept the fact that clients are a lot of my clients are going to be gone, but I also accept the fact that this could be a new beginning for something better. And that's the way I have to look at it. I don't look at it like, oh, the clients are gone and what am I going to do? I'm looking at it as like, when I get back, when I get stronger, and when I get better for the business, how can I make it better? And for me, better is always not to be the bottleneck of the company, because if I'm the bottleneck, there's no progression. You're never going to grow. And that's why, like I always say, I always make sure that you guys, the people that work for me, make your own decisions. I don't want to be like, oh, let me ask Will what he thinks. I'm like, I don't care. For me, I think, like I always tell you, people that work for me, they earn my trust. You earn my trust, good or bad, whatever decision you make, I'm okay with it. And I think that's the right way to do it, because if you empower people, then it's that much closer to breaking that bottleneck and breaking out of being a one-man show and stuff like that. Because if you make all the decisions, you're dead in the water. You make all the decisions, you'll never grow and stuff like that. You want to empower people to make decisions. So
That's great. Like in a sense, so you basically kind of look at your employees kind of like your partners, then not really like your employees.
yeah,
You're
I think
allowing them to make this. That's pretty cool.
I think the more decisions you guys can make, the better off, long term wise for you
That's
guys
true.
too. Because think of it this way, you guys, at the end of the day, anybody who works for me, I know it's a stepping stone in their life. People, I accept the fact, that people need to learn to get a job, to learn a skill, and then move on. Because moving on is a part of life. Moving on is progression. Moving on is getting better and stuff like that. And I used to think that I want people to stay, 5 years, 10 years or whatever. But
Forever.
no, nowadays I just think that, people, it's a good thing to move on. And it's good for me to have people that are new and want fresh start, and to make that impact on people who are younger, because the people that I teach and work for me for 5 years, they already know all that crap. So they don't need to, if I can't teach them anything else, then I'm not going to be able to. So, but you know, I, I accepted. Back in the days, I used to get upset that people leave, but now I'm okay with it, because like you said, it's everybody getting better. And with every negative thing that happens, something positive comes out of it. Like, actually, a perfect example. If all those people, I think one year it was a bunch of people that left, that quit at the same time, and because they left, I was looking for people, and then I found you. So if it wasn't for them leaving, and yeah, I mean, if I would have want them to stay or begged them to stay, I, it would have been like, oh, I would have never met Kai and stuff like that. So that's the way you got to look at it. I look at it that way. I look at everything, like I
I
said.
didn't think I'd be that big of an asset, but I do.
Nah, listen. You're just like me. You are just like me. You are harder on yourself than anyone else, buddy. You are harder on yourself, just like me. I tell you, it's like some days I look at myself and I'm like, I gotta do. I got 10 things on my to-do list, and I do 9 of it, and I said, shoot, I didn't feel fulfilled and stuff like that. And I will tell you, like I said, when you're hard on yourself, it's good. It's good motivation. It's good kick in the head that you want to do more. And like I always tell you, one of my big things is like, everybody says they want to do more, but if you don't know what more is, then how do you know what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
And for me, I feel the same way. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, just a little bit, but I'm like you. I want to do more. But if I don't know what more is, what am I reaching for then, right? So um, I started, maybe this past couple weeks, I just really started to think about what more of it is. Do I want more money? Do I want more clients? Do I want more time? Do I want more friends? Like, what is more? And I think I figured it out yesterday when I was talking to you, when I was talking to some other people, was coaching some other people, and they were talking about, like I said, I I know I want to make an impact. I want to help other people like yourself to be an entrepreneur, to be financially literate. I want to help people like that, and
Yeah.
I think that for me is my more. I actually think so. I mean, these past couple of days, I've been really thinking about. We always talk about passion. Can passion make money? I don't know, right? You have to see that, right? You have to make sure that you could be passionate about something, but you don't want to be a starving artist. So you have to be able to make sure that you can, at least monetize what you can do,
Right.
your skill and stuff like that.
Because it
And
allows you to keep doing it.
sorry?
Because that will allow you to keep doing
Yeah,
it. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. I
It's
agree.
just, it's just like YouTube, right? Like a lot of these content creators,
Yep,
if we're not supporting them by subscribing to them
yep,
and watching them,
yep,
then they wouldn't be able to do what they do. So
yeah,
you're
yeah,
absolutely right about that. That just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to monetize off of it, because when you could monetize off of it,
yeah,
you're actually able to impact and help more
yeah.
people.
Exactly. It's so true. And like, my whole thing now is to try to like I said, we are so hard on ourselves. Back maybe about 15 years ago, there was a client that I was talking to, and she always told me, she said, "Will, you should be a coach. You should definitely be a coach. You're a small business coach. You know your stuff." And I always discounted it. I always discounted it. I was like, that's not me. I can't charge people for just simple knowledge. And I always, and it's happened to me in my span of business, probably like, maybe 20 people told me the same thing. Will, you're good at talking to people. Will, you're a good coach. Will, you inspire me and stuff like that. And I always discounted it because I was like, it's a normal conversation. It's like you and I having a conversation and stuff like that. So, and fast forward now, um, I look back and I said, shoot, if I would have built a coaching business back then, that could have been my side hustle. And that could have been this. And, I could have done something more significant and impacted more people back when I was younger. And then I started thinking like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason.
Exactly.
If I come to the realization now in my life, at this point in my life, there's a reason why it happened. There wasn't a reason why I needed to do it when I was younger. There's a reason why I need to do it when I'm older. Because whatever this, the virus and whatever we go through, right? It's tragic, and it's going to change the way we do business. It's going to change our lives and everything. So it made me realize that this is the right time for me to try to impact as many people as I can and stuff like that. And I think I just want to be able to I think I figured out my more. That's my more. I want to impact more people to make sure that whatever I did or whatever, how successful I am or not successful, I try to pass that on to people so they could pass it on to the next generation, because that's what it is. There was I found it. I told you a story. I met this guy on LinkedIn. He was outsourced bookkeeping company, and he said to me, he's like, "Oh, can I get your business?" And I was like, I don't even know you. Why would I give you my business? And then he started telling me about his background. He said, "Oh, I used to work at Ernst & Young, and this is what we did at Ernst & Young." And I was like, sounds good. I mean, you're just starting out, right? And then I asked him the $1 million question. I said, "Do you need a mentor?" And he's like, "Sure." And then he asked me, he says, "What do you want in return?" And then I told him what I just told you. I said, all I want you to do in return is to make sure that you help the next guy who asks the same question. The next person that wants to start a business, you help that person. Because sharing that knowledge, sharing those clues about business goes a long way to get from people from point A to point B. And if you do that, that's all you have to pay me. And I was very genuine about it. It wasn't like a hallmark moment. I was very genuine. I said, yeah, that's all I really want. I want you to share your knowledge with the next person, because that's how you impact people. If I show this guy that I'm not after money, that I don't really care, and that I just talk to him and help him, if he becomes successful, I become successful. Same thing for you. If I can teach you something to be successful, and in 5 or 10 years you're more successful than me, I'm damn happy, because I knew I did the right thing in life. It wasn't like, oh, let me see how much money I can make off Kai, how much money I can make off this. Like I said, it's the impact. In 5 or 10 years or 20 years, you have a huge nest egg, drive a Maserati, have a nice house and everything, then I'm good. That's all. I truly think that, to me, is the most rewarding thing for me. When other people succeed and do better than me, I'm happy.
I feel like for you, I feel like at your point, it's not even about money anymore. It's just about
Yeah,
giving back to the community.
yeah,
It's about, because look, if you impact me and I could impact someone else,
yeah.
and
That's
that
it.
goes on, that one person could become a
Yeah,
community. Right? Like they always say, like, look at how one person can impact so many people, like
yeah,
Jesus, like Gandhi, like Buddha,
yeah, 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 yeah.
stuff like
But
that.
that's
So
that.
no, it's definitely great, like what you're doing, and that's what I always admired about you, and that's why I enjoy working for you, because it's not even just about the money. It's the fact that we can have conversations like this,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
I
mean,
feel like these
yeah,
are conversations I could have with just any type of employer, because everybody's always just thinking about themselves and
yeah,
what they want this person to do for them, and I feel like you're one of the few people that actually genuinely care about people. So I think that's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm just, everybody who works for me, anyone who knows me, even people that don't work for me, um,
yeah,
you guys are all my kids, and I always think that, just like being a parent, you want your kid's life to be better than yours. And it's inbred in us. Your parents want you to have a better life than they did, and it's the same thing. I just want the kids that work for me, the kids that even my own kids, to be better than me, because without the motivation and the skill set and everything, um, they're not. You're not going to be. I want to inspire people to be better, and I think that's the whole thing. And if you have a sheltered life, if you don't have people who are better than you, you're always going to be in that same average position, that mediocrity mediocrity.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so you don't. you have to find people that are better than you, that push the needle to help you get better. If you stay with people who make 50,000 a year, that's what you're gonna, the average of your 5 friends is how much your net worth is.
Right.
Um, but if you hang out with more successful people and you learn from them, you know, that's the whole thing. Like everybody, even people I meet in business, I always tell you my first thing. Anybody who's bigger or better than me in business, whatever business it is, I always ask them how they do it, because when you hear about how people do it, it's like being curious about, like, just another form of education. You're being curious about how they did it and stuff like that, and you're getting all those little golden nuggets of things like to put into your pouch, and you're like, wow, I learned this from X, Y, and Z. I learned this from Joe Smith. I learned this from Kai. Like you're getting all these little nuggets, and then this is the stuff you give back to people to inspire them and say, well, let me tell you the story about this guy, how he built it. And and I think that goes a long way to helping impact and doing more. And like I said, I I figured out what more is for me. And, it's not more money and more clients and more headaches and stuff like that. It's just more impact. The more impact that you do in this world to make sure, all the people in the office, the people that I know in their 20s, um, that have a better life than me, I'm good, man. That's rewarding enough. To me, that is like, that's the silver lining. That is definitely the silver lining. Like I said, Kai, I know you're gonna be more successful than me because that's the way it should be.
Let's let's hope so. Let's hope so,
You will. You will.
Well, and we're recording this, 2020. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And that's the other thing too. What I realized too is like these Zoom calls, these Zoom interviews, they're things to refer back to. They're like your markers in life, your points in your life where you can look at this in 1 year and say, okay, let me go back to that video that you and I did, and let's see what I did and what I didn't do, right?
right,
Because it's easy to write it down and say, oh, Will said this and that. But when you do a video and you basically document, like, well, this is what Will said, this is what Kai said to me, this is what we should be doing. It's a reference point where you can go back and say, all right, let me look it over, and then you can gauge what you did and what you didn't do, and then that's another kick in the head for yourself and stuff like that.
exactly. So let's wrap it up with these few questions that we have left.
Sure.
So no, but I definitely appreciate your sharing and like
No problem,
how you
man.
impact people and stuff like that. Uh, so one of the questions is, I feel like it's very important for people in their 20s to know whether they want to partner with somebody in business or be able to get a job per
Yep.
se. What makes you want to hire a person, and what kind of tests do you put them through before fully entrusting them? Like what do you like to see from an individual
uh,
personally?
that's a good question, actually. um, Actually, when I hire people, I just
Because you don't just hire anybody. I see you. You don't just hire anybody.
I think
As nice
way
as
I
you are, as nice as you are. Because like
I'm,
you said, you have to be able to trust them, right? So what kind of vibes or energy does somebody have to give you? What kind of qualities do you have to see, for you to want to hire them?
I think probably one of the more important things is the passion, and passion, that and the thirst to learn. I mean, there are people that that work for me that think they know it all, and there's no need for them, because eventually they'll be like, oh, I know more than Will. Why do I need to be here and stuff like that? And that's why, like I said, I think that having a turnover in a company is not necessarily a bad thing, because when people stay too long at a job, they just get not disgruntled, but they just get uh, what do you call it, status quo. They just going with the flow and stuff like that. So what I look for are people that are willing to learn and stuff, like the eagerness to learn, to want to do, to want to get better and stuff like that. um, and that to me is like, very important, because most of the kids, as you know, we hire right out of college. So they're they're going to need to learn a skill. They're going to need to fine tune what they read in the textbook to apply in the real world.
Right.
And so they really need, I like it when people look I like it to, you know me, I like testing people all the time on the job. I ask them a question. I know the answer. I just want to test them, and I want them to use the knowledge that they got from the textbook. And, like when I ask people what a profit and loss is there, and they leave me from the textbook, I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't care. I don't care what the textbook taught you. I want you to tell me what it means.
Right.
And when you, I guess for me, when I hire people, I want them to use their brain. I don't want them to say, "Oh, this is very boring. Will tells me to do enter these bills and stuff. Will tells me to do all this stuff, manual labor and stuff like that." That's not what I. Back in the days, it was like that, where everything would have been done by one person. Someone would enter all the information, the data, and reconcile it. But as you know, I try to eliminate as much of the data entry as possible with automation and outsourcing, because I just think that I don't want people to stay here because they want a data entry, right? I want people to stay here to use their accounting degrees or their accounting knowledge to do something better, right? Because you don't get rewarded for data entry. You can't just go to me and say, "Will, I want to get more pay," because I'll be like, "Why? Do you data entry faster?" So for me, it's always about like someone who's willing to learn and to adapt. Because like I said, the things we do in business now are different than what we did 5 years ago. Going forward, it's going to be different too. And like I said, if I eliminate all the mundane stuff, the data entry and stuff like that, I just want people to have use the stuff they learned in school. Because that's one of the things. Most of the people that I hired, they were like, "Well, they never taught us this in school. Well, they never taught." Yeah, they always tell me that they never showed us this. I don't know how. Why did they ever show it to you? Because the school only teaches what the textbook says, right? The real life experience is more valuable. Like I said, if I could do anything, it's just give these people the real life experiences, the
Right.
real world, what really actually happens in business and stuff like that.
So what makes you trust the person, like to want to work with them?
Um, I could usually tell by a conversation. I mean, for me, for me to trust someone, it's also to know that you hire them, they have the eagerness to learn, they're passionate about learning and stuff like that. But it's also about if they get it. So once they get the task and once they get the process and stuff, and once they figure things out, then you can trust them. And I think trust. And like I said, me, most of the people that work for me, even the part-time, the freelancers and stuff like that, the interns, I trust them because I've been with them. I've been with like the Wendy's and all the other people. I've been with them. I know what they do, and that's why I always say, once you earn my trust, I always have their back. I would rather lose the client than lose the worker, because for me, someone could say, "Oh, Kai messed this up," but if I know that I taught Kai, I know what Kai does all the time, and I see him doing the work, I'm going to say, "No, I know he did it right." That's the whole thing. And having people's back, I know, like I always tell you, I always have the people, clients come and go, clients complain about everything and stuff like that. But to have a worker that you've been, in the grind with day in, day out, the interaction, knowing what they do and stuff like that, to have their back is much more important than, listen, everybody has their different interpretations of the way things should be done. And it might be done in a different way than what the client expects. But like I said, if people will earn my trust, I always have their back, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, that you do. You definitely do. So for somebody like me, like in my 20s, right? Like,
Yeah.
or if somebody wanted to start their business right now, like what kind of business would you advise them to start? And what do you think the capital would be? And like, how do you think somebody could raise like capital? I mean, if it's only like $1,000, $2,000 business, then obviously a credit card or like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but so yeah, I would say, forget about the capital part. Like, what kind of business would you advise someone to start?
I would probably say, it's funny coming from an older guy, but I would probably say an online business. Do something online. There's so much opportunities to do stuff online. It's not like the world only works from 9 to 5 every
Right.
day. I mean, you have the whole world working constantly. I mean, I would do affiliate marketing. I would do what other stuff would I do? I would do like, I would get side hustles. I would do as much side hustles as possible. Side hustles can also be like online tutoring. There's so many tutoring sites where you could go and just tutor English to other countries. You can do that in your leisure and make money and stuff like that. And I would definitely, if I had to start a business now, I would probably do something online. And I would do a lot of side hustles. I would do side hustles because side hustles can make it a full-time business. You know, like I said, if you get good at affiliate marketing, if you get good at online tutoring, then you can command a higher price and stuff like that for yourself. And then you can actually make that a business and stuff like that. And have that, you know, laptop lifestyle that everybody wants and stuff like that. So I would definitely do something online. I would definitely do a lot of side hustles. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. If you Google side hustles, they would come up with so many different ideas, more ideas than I could think of. You could read a book on it. I'm reading a great book on side hustles right now that that just opened my eyes, opened my mind to the possibilities of things. And because side hustles can be a full-time business, a full-time, you know, it doesn't have to be your full-time job. Even like I said, for me, you know, people do side hustles for their, as an addition to their job, but I'm doing it as an addition to my business because I can see that a side hustle could become another business for myself. And side hustles is basically testing the market. That's what it is. That's what you're doing. It's like, oh, I'm going to be I want to do copywriting. But before you go full-fledged into copywriting and dedicate yourself to doing copywriting, why don't you try it online somewhere? You know, like get a copywriting job, see how you like it and stuff. Or you could say like, oh, I want to be a tutor in French or something, right? And you're like, oh, but I don't know if I'm going to like it. So get a gig online, see if you like it. So online gives you the opportunity to test your theories, test the marketplace to see where, if it's a true business or is it just, you know, something that's a pipe dream. So instead of investing tons of money, you could just go online and say, okay, I want to do affiliate marketing. I got to take this course and stuff like that. It costs $1,000, right? But you can also say, I want to try affiliate marketing. I want to learn on YouTube and learn as much as I can. And then if I'm into it, then I'll spend $1,000 to say, yo, I'm ready. I'm ready to take it to the next level. Because that's what it is. YouTube is only basically an informational site. But if you want the cheat sheet, the other stuff, you're going to have to pay for it because people don't disclose everything. But online is the best place where you can learn to see if you're passionate about it, see if it's something you really want to try out, and you have to give yourself a time frame. You could say like, all right, I'm going to learn affiliate marketing. Let me give myself a month. I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to work on it, focus every day. Every day I'm going to focus on it. And after that 1 month, you say, nah, you know, is it for me? Or you say, you know what? I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready for the next step which would be like, oh, I want to pay for a class because I got all this free content out there. Now I'm ready to pay for the next class and stuff.
I really love that advice about starting multiple things because I feel like the problem is a lot of parents, that's not what they would usually recommend their kids. Like my mother, like my mom, right? She would always say, you do too many things.
Yeah.
She said, you should focus on one thing. And I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense. Because realistically, right, like biologically speaking, a person's frontal lobe doesn't fully develop until they're like 25. So then you have these 18-year-old kids who are just going into college, and it's like you have to know what you're gonna do.
I know.
That doesn't make any sense, and
I know.
That's so true. That creates like a societal like type of stress. Like that type of standard creates stress because now a lot of people think they're like, yo, like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. Like I'm out of the norm. You know? So for anyone that's tuning in and listening to this, it's like if you're doing multiple things, it's like congrats because that's how you're going to be able to figure out what you want to do. And that's the same thing I try to explain to my wife and you know, my mom. Because whenever I tell my wife that I want to do something now, she's like, oh, here we go again. Because I'm more or less like that. Like I dip my toes into something. I'll go hard on it for like a month, 2 months. And then I'm like, this isn't for me. Like, why I got to be stuck with something I don't like?
Yeah. I mean, it goes to that that the secret of a millionaire mindset. The 17 characteristics. One of them is always like, rich people look for opportunities. Poor people look for obstacles. And you know, for me, what that's saying is like, you don't just jump at every opportunity that comes your way. That's a great saying, but you don't jump on everything, because if you jumped on everything, you're never going to do any of it. But if you do it and give it time, because everything has to be measured in time. You
Right.
can't just say, I'm going to do it 2 days and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Right.
It's measured in time. So what happens is, you have to be able, if you want to be rich, you you have to look at opportunities, because if you don't look at opportunities, you just go back to your mundane stuff, it'll never happen.
Yeah,
So
and I feel like 90 days to a year is like more than enough to test the market to see if
yeah,
it's really
yeah.
for you, you know?
But you have to be able to, like I said, document everything and calendar everything and say, these are the milestones I need to hit, these are the things I got to do. And then even after you do all your milestones and you go through your 30 to 60 or to 90 days, you're going through all of it and you're like, no, it wasn't for me. It's okay. It's okay, because you know what? You did your due diligence. You didn't, you did your due diligence. You say, I tried it out. I did all this hard work. I did it passionately for a couple of weeks and it wasn't for me. And that's fine. That's better than saying, you know what? I don't think I want to try that. It's not for me. Having that regret of not doing things is far worse than doing it and not succeeding. At least you could get it off your bucket list. Okay, I did affiliate marketing, off my list. I tried it. It doesn't work for me and stuff like that. And you know what, Kai, like I said before about the coaching thing, sometimes it's about timing in life. Back then, when everybody said, "Will, you should be a coach. You should be a coach," and stuff like that, it was like, nah, not for me, not for me. And then I realized, like, sometimes now is the right time for me. You know why? Because I know business is going to change. I have to reevaluate how I do business. And don't get me wrong. I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna throw away my business I built for 20 years. But I'm going to develop my side hustle. And
Right.
at the time, maybe back then, I wasn't ready. It wasn't the right timing for me and stuff like that. But now I feel like it's the right time. I'm passionate about it. I know I can make the impact and stuff like that. And that might happen to you later on. Think of it this way. Now might not be the right time for affiliate marketing. It might not be the right time for day trading and stuff like that. But, there might be a time later on in your life where you're like, you know what, I got time. And if something bad happens, you're like, you know, but I think for anybody listening in their 20s, that develop that side hustle when you're younger. Because once you develop when you're younger, you'll have it when you're older. Let's just say your side hustle could be you're a dog walker or something like that. You develop it, you keep doing it, hone your craft, and then as you get older, when the economy tanks again or something like that, you have that side hustle. This is what you did for so many years and stuff like that. The one thing I probably wish I would have done when I was your age is probably do more side hustles, because that would have exposed me to so many different things. And we didn't have it like you have it nowadays, where there's so much opportunity to do, like, walk your dog, Uber this, Uber that, and stuff
Right.
like that. We didn't have those opportunities when I was your age and stuff like that. But if I did, I would have done a lot more stuff, and I would have tried it out, did my due diligence, got my brain going and thinking and stuff like that. So you guys, people your age, definitely have an opportunity to, because what it is like, let's just say you are your side hustle is playing the guitar, doing lessons online. You could play the guitar and you can do lessons online. You could start at the beginning. There's so many websites that you can go to do that, teach lessons. You could charge 10, $20. But if you master your craft and you do for 10, 15 years, your rate could triple that. Your rate can go double, triple that. That's because you've been doing consistently and for a long period of time. It's just like what I said, just like investing and everything else. Everything you do when you're younger impacts you when you're older. So if you build that side hustle, whatever that side hustle is, you build it. And then later on in your life, you built it so well that people pay you a premium for your services. But it only happened because you did it when you were younger. So that's why, like I said, 20 something is a great age to develop side hustles, to develop a business, to develop a passion and stuff like that. Because that stuff could carry you to your 50, 60 years old. That could be something, like I said, our generation didn't have that. They didn't have the gig economy where people can just say like, oh, I want to be an Uber driver. Oh, I want to deliver this. I want to do online class. I want to be a tutor. They didn't have that. But you guys have that opportunity where you can, the sky's the limit. You could think of many different things about making money, and you could dabble at it, or you could try it out, or you could do this, but you can. And that's the whole thing. Now you can figure out like, okay, if accounting's not for you, if you want to teach English in China, right? You could do it. You could do it. You could try something else and make money at it, and then see if that's your passion and stuff. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And uh, I remember I read something recently that because like my mom, she always wants me to specialize in that one thing and be a specialist.
yeah,
She's like, "Oh, you're like a jack of all trades and
yeah,
master of none."
yeah,
I used to always think that was a problem.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But then now I realize that it's because I know so many different things
yeah,
that eventually these thoughts are gonna like connect.
yeah, yeah,
You know, and the article I read, he was saying that in today's society, if you're only good at one thing and
yep,
it's the only thing you know,
yep.
your career could be like
Oh yeah,
your career is like threatened
yeah,
or
yeah,
like shaky. But if you know like at least two or three skills and you're like in the top 25 percentile, you
yeah,
can combine those skills together. Not only can you monetize it,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you have a market. Like for example, right? You as a business coach, like
yeah,
you're combining your communication skills, your accounting skills, and
yeah,
also like your marketing skills,
yeah,
all into one. But see, and I see a lot of accountants, they suck at selling. They don't like to sell because they don't like to talk. They're more introverted, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
they're very good in accounting,
yeah, yeah,
right? They're super good. They're probably better than than you and maybe other people like put together.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying, but
No, no, I know what you
right,
mean.
but the problem with them is that's all they're good at is accounting.
I
They don't
know.
know how to market themselves. They don't know how to they don't know how to talk to people,
Yeah,
right? And as a result, they're limited to just I feel like just having a job. But if
yeah.
they were able to market and they were able to talk and they were good with people, then they could just be like you. You know,
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like I said, it's selling is so important because you hit it on the nail. You could be the best accountant, the best lawyer, the best doctor, and everything, and if you can't sell yourself, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get leads from whatever source, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, or Google reviews. It doesn't matter. You still have to close. You still, like
exactly.
I said, that's only 90% of the deal. You still have to close the rest of the 10% and persuade people, convince them that you know X, Y, and Z. Because if you can't convince them, it doesn't matter what a lead is. You have to still close that 10% and stuff like that. And I think you hit it on the nail. All those skills that you acquire from different aspects of life, like from my first business of printing and selling and office supplies, I learned selling. College taught me accounting. I think Barnes and Nobles taught me entrepreneurial skills and investing. So all these things come together where you put the whole package together, and you need that. You need it. You can't just say, oh, college is my only one source of learning, and that's it. That's all I'm going to learn from is college. Then you're dead in the water, right?
And,
Because if you
and
only
your
learn from college,
ex-girlfriend
then you're nothing. You got to be able to learn from multiple sources.
and your ex-girlfriend taught you that you need to be successful in order to keep a
It's
girl.
true. That's true.
Like
That's true.
for all the men, women out there, like I feel like you really got to work on yourself first because
Yeah. Yep.
even if you could catch a fish,
Yeah.
doesn't mean you keep the fish.
Um,
Like
what's one thing I realized that's so true? You have to love yourself before you love anyone else. Because what happened is sometimes, like I said, our worst critics are ourselves. If we're hard on ourselves and we don't think we accomplish anything in life, then then how can I love the next person? It's just like someone who's let's see, a secretary or something goes out with a lawyer and potential lawyer.
yeah,
She's never gonna feel like she's up to par with him But, you know, that's why, like I said, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. Because if you don't love yourself, you're like, you know what? I know where I'm going in life. I know which direction I'm going. It may take me the long way, but at least I know where I'm going. And if you're confident in yourself, it doesn't really matter what the other person thinks or anything. It's probably that you're your own worst critic about things. So you want to be able to say to yourself, you know, I'm good at where I am. I'm good at where I'm going. And, you know, my future is bright and stuff like that. And if you could say that to yourself, it doesn't matter what status someone else has or what status anyone else has. I mean, I have to be honest, most of the people I dated are 10 times smarter than me. But I was
My
always,
wife is way out of my league.
there you go. That's the same thing.
You see
But
my wife before? I
yeah,
swear, when we first started dating, a lot of people be looking at us like, why is she with him? But, you know, I was always confident in
yep,
myself.
that's it. That was my whole thing
I
too.
had a shit ton of acne, like when I first started dating, like a lot
Yeah.
of the girls I was dating. And I remember my mentor be like, how'd you rail that? You know, like, I'm like, I always just believed in myself in a
Yeah,
way.
I know. And that belief in yourself is like, it's just like what I say about sales. You know, when you give your best, your all to close a prospect or a potential client, you give it your all, and they still reject you or use someone else. In the back of your head, you got to be like, it's their loss,
Yeah,
because if
they might not think that they're at your level.
yeah, yeah,
That could also they either think they're way better than you or
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think we need that kind of caliber of service.
yeah.
Like
Well, and that's
I
the same
really
thing with relationships too. That's the same way you have
yeah.
to think of relationships. You know, like if you give it your all and stuff like that into a relationship and it doesn't work out, it's their loss. Because if you just ponder it, think about it, wonder why it didn't work, you're never going to move on. And that's the whole thing. Like, if for every client that said no to me, if I dwelled on it and I thought about it, I'll never move on. I'll be like, hey,
And not only that, like you don't want to be in that kind of relationship where
yeah,
they don't want to be in the relationship
yep,
because now both parties are stressful.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
in any relationship, be it dating or a business relationship, I
yeah,
feel like both sides need to be happy,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And like I said, and
Employee-employer relationship. Because if the employee is not happy, he's gonna eventually or she's gonna
yeah,
eventually do some shit
yeah.
that's gonna make the employer unhappy. And you know, I should have gotten a bottle of water too.
Don't worry. That's,
Very smart. But
uh,
Will, I think I think we got a lot of material here.
yeah,
I think we
yeah.
could wrap it up. So, I mean, anything else you want to add? I think it was a lot of like great things you gave like great
Yeah,
tips.
like I said, I think for people in their 20s and 30s, the opportunity is out there. You know, it may we have the coronavirus, we have all this negativity in the world, but out of the negativity, something positive always has to happen. And sometimes, like I said, even for me being in business, I got to realize that, you know, this is things are going to change. And if you, I can't assume that I go back in a couple months, 6 months, a year, that everything will be back to normal and stuff like that. This is a time where people have the opportunity to try to, you know, get out of the rat race, not count on just being like, oh, my job is it, my job is my world,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this is going to carry me for the rest of my life, or my skills are going to carry, you know, my accounting skills are going to carry me for the rest of my life. And, you know, this is a time where people step up, say, you know what, I'm going to learn something new. Or step up and
Exactly.
say, you know what, I'm going to try a new side business. I'm going to try a side hustle. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to give it some time, because no one, this is downtime for everybody. No one's going to rush to work. No
I
one's
mean,
on the training.
it's not like 1929. I think that's when the Great Depression hit, right?
Yeah.
But look, they had the Great Depression, but something that they didn't have was the internet. Even though
Yeah.
we got the coronavirus,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't speak for other countries,
Yeah.
obviously, but I know in America, most people probably have access to a phone or
Yeah.
internet. And there's really, and then another thing that we need to give up is just our excuses.
Yeah.
So we could learn something. Because honestly, because look, we've been off for how long? Like a month now,
Yeah.
right?
At least a
And
month. Yeah.
honestly, during this whole month, I can say that I slacked off for maybe 1 week.
Yep.
But then I told myself, 1 week, that was like a rest day for me. But I'm
Yep.
not slacking anymore. And
Yep.
aside from doing my homeworks and stuff, like I'm picking up on little things like coding.
Oh,
Even
that's
though
awesome.
I might never get a job in that, but you know, it's just that's the future too. You know, being
Yeah.
able
Yeah.
to understand like just technology. You know, so
Yeah.
I pick up on little coding. Like I'm
Yeah.
learning my little forex. I'm doing my little, you know, like I'm just
Yeah.
trying to learn different things, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna also learn the affiliate marketing and all that stuff. And
Cool.
I feel like to me, and I was telling my best friend this. I said, you know,
Mm.
this is really, we could look at it as, oh my God, we're in lockdown, we can't
Yeah.
do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But another way we could look at it is this is boot camp.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
set up that's how I look at myself. I look at myself like I'm a soldier. You
Yep.
know, like I'm strong and I'm gonna weather whatever storm. And
Yeah.
to me, it's just boot camp. You know, because in boot camp, aren't you confined in one area,
Yeah. That's
right?
so true.
For how
That's so
long?
true.
6 weeks to 6 months,
Yeah.
right? And you can only do a certain amount of things in boot camp. You know, it's like the
Yeah.
opposite of jail. And
True.
and honestly, I know people who, you know, been in prison, and a lot of people, they take the time out, they read, they work out.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
look at it myself as, I mean, being at home is obviously a little bit better than prison, right?
Absolutely. I would think so, buddy. I would think so.
So you know, I would say anybody tuning in, definitely look at this as boot camp, not as like,
Yeah.
oh, I
No,
can't do
that's a good point. That's a good point. And
turn the
to your
negative
point,
to positive.
to your point that it's opportunity. It's opportunity to people who look at it as opportunity. You can look at this thing as a negative thing and, you know, like the end of the world type of thing, but you could also look at it from opportunity standpoint. The
Like a
world's at a
river.
standstill now, and stuff like that. What you do now, like I always said, what you do when you're younger impacts you when you're over. If you take this time off to really enhance your skills, to get better, to learn a new trade, to develop side hustles, to do all these things, to be a seeker of knowledge, then you have the opportunity to come out of this better and stronger. And that's why I always say, I said it in one of my last videos, I said, New Yorkers we're fighters, man. I'm looking at it, I'm coming out, I just want to come out better and stronger out of this whole thing. And
People, New Yorkers need to fight from home though. Like they need.
yeah, I know. That's
Oh,
okay.
did I tell you, Felice, she
Yeah.
actually released an episode, like we had a podcast interview.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it actually
Awesome.
came out yesterday. Probably after this, I'll send you a link to it.
Yeah. That's so cool. I should do an interview with her. I like her too. I mean, I never met her, but from what you told me, she
Oh
sounds
yeah,
great.
I can actually ask her. She'll probably be
Yeah.
more than happy to set it up.
Send her this video, and then we'll see if we can develop something together. Because,
No,
like I
definitely.
said,
Because honestly, like you're a successful business owner. You know what I mean? So I feel like it would be cool if you guys can like, yeah, let me talk to her after this, and you know, I'll have you guys set something up.
you know why I think because it's like what I said. You know, I could think that I know it all, but I'm open-minded to meet other people, to see how they, like I said, my whole thing is to meet other people in business, to learn from them, because once you learn, you're curious. Once you become curious, you can apply that to whatever you do and stuff like that. Like I said, everything is about a little nugget. You know, you get a little nugget from here, a little nugget from there, you could put it all together. As many little nuggets you can of knowledge that you could keep and apply,
Hmm.
you know, it's worth its weight in gold. And I'm the same way. If I could teach her a little thing that I learned in business and she could apply, then it's a win-win for everybody.
Right.
I think it's so true that, you know, the more you can give these little, the more you, it's just like if I was only able to hang out with one person and that one person only taught me X, Y, and Z, the world has people who can teach you all the alphabet, teach you so many things. And if you just say, oh, I know it, I know how to do this. I know what to do. I know how to get it. You know, it's better to say, I want to learn. I want to learn from someone else. I want to learn from people better than me, because that's the only way you get better. If I say, oh, I'm just going to hang out with people beneath me, you're not going to get better. So.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
So
So
yeah, so hook it up and then we'll go from there. But thanks for the whole thing, Kai. I mean, like I
no,
always said, you know, I know, um, you know, people always say I inspire them, but I think people inspire me too, because I just think that sometimes if you see people making the change, then you know you did something right. And like I always said, I just want everybody, all the kids that I know, all the kids that I interact with, I always want them to be better than me, because that's true success to me. Because if you taught somebody X, Y, and Z, if someone comes in and works for me, knows A, B, and C, and then you could teach them X, Y, and Z, and they do better than you, then you did good. Then
no,
you
it's
did good.
always no, like it's definitely always good to talk to you because, like I said, there's not that many people where I feel like I could share this conversation with. Because a lot of people would feel annoyed. I know my wife would, right? So you can keep talking to my wife about success, making more money, like
Yeah,
people
yeah.
want to hear that. So it's like
Well, I'll tell you
I
one
can't talk
thing.
to anybody else about it. You know what I mean?
You,
I live with her.
you know what's funny? My wife tells me the same thing. She says when I meet some people, total strangers, and you're like, I always tell them to open a business, and I do that forever. She always says to me, well, why would you think that they want to open a business? What if they're happy? And I
My
was
wife
like,
says the same thing. My
yeah,
wife
it's just
says the same thing.
I was like, you know what? And then I started to realize it's the same thing we always talk about. It's not for everybody. That I probably realized that recently. It's what we have to share in this world. Someone could take it with a grain of salt and just say, that's not for me. Or someone could take it and say, yo, that's a great idea, Will. That's a great idea, Kai. I'm going to do that. And, for me, it's always about how do you find the people that want to hear what you want to say, right? At the end of the day, your target market, right,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
Every guy you meet on the street doesn't want to open their business or doesn't want to do a side hustle. You never know. So the ideal situation is when people come to you and you're like, Will, I heard you did this video with Kai and talking about business and all this stuff. I'm into it. Those are the people you want to serve and help
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's what Dan Locke says. 99% of his content is free out there. And 1%, he only wants to help the 1% that doesn't want, that appreciates it and says, damn, you gave so much value. I don't care what you want to charge. That's it. And that's how you have to look at it. Not everybody is going to agree with you saying like, hey, open your own business or do this and that. You're just going to have to get to the point. That's what I realized too. You can't go, every stranger doesn't want to open a business because they could be making more money than you opening a business.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
you have to find how to get to those people, how to attract those people. And I think the way I look at it, I think I want to help people in their 20s and 30s who are thinking like, is this what life is all about? Just going to my 9 to 5. You know, I think the one thing I want to teach people is to think bigger in life, because I never thought big. I always thought like, oh, I'll just get a job, I'll work there for the rest of my life, and I never thought big because I didn't have someone telling me, well, there's more things in life you could do.
Yeah, honestly, like when I first started working for you,
Yep.
my mindset, like I would say I was beat up. Like I was tired of dealing with people. I didn't
Yeah.
want to, I like every time you talk to me about like owning my own business,
Yeah.
I was very turned off by that because I didn't want to do business anymore. But the
Yeah.
more I interacted with you and then,
Yeah.
interacting with like the clients, like different
Yeah.
business owners,
Yep.
it started, I would say like not working for you and being at the office was more like rehabilitation for me. It was like no, for real. It was kind of like because it started making me think a
Yeah.
little bit bigger again because I was around people who thought bigger. I was always
Yeah.
around small-minded
No,
people
I agree. I
who
mean, that's the
made
whole
me
thing.
feel like I was doing something wrong because
Yeah.
I wanted more in life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That's a
then being
that's a
around you.
good point. That is a real good point because, like I said, you just want to be able to have people around you that inspire you, that motivate you, and that help you get to the next level and stuff like that. If you're around people who are just average, you will always be average and stuff like that. But if you're around people and you're a seeker of knowledge, and that's what it is. If you want if you want to learn from people, you ask the right questions. You say, hey, how'd you do it? How'd you start your business? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? And then you, like you said, everything is a golden nugget. You take that nugget, put it in your pouch, and you say, yo, on to the next person. And that's why, like, for me, I just want to learn. I always want to keep learning. I always don't want to say I know it all, because once I know it all, I'm nobody. Well, I want to learn, like even I told you, I wanted to learn from you. How did you do the multi-level market? How did you get all that downline? I just wanted to learn because I just thought it was so interesting. Like how do you do your Instagram posts? Because I just don't want to be the guy who knows everything. I want to be the guy who wants to seek it out and realize like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. That's how you do it. Oh man, that's so cool. And that's the way it should be. To always thirst for the knowledge is so much better. And like I said, you only gotta learn X, Y, and Z in textbooks because that's all they want to teach you and stuff like that. But to be able to have to impact as many people as you can in life And I know you're going to do the same thing. You know, in 10, 15 years, you're going to be set. You're going to want to, like, you're going to be comfortable. You're like, wow, what more do I want to do? What more should I be doing? And you're going to probably look back at the video and say, Will did more. Will figured out more when it was the right time for him. That to me is like I said, everybody always told me I aspire I could coach people, I know how to do this. But because of what we're going through now, I think it's just timing and stuff like that. Everything that
It comes
you'll
with
find.
age too. I feel like
Yeah, yeah,
maybe because I feel like when someone's younger, they're more ambitious. They're like, I want more
yeah,
money. You know,
yeah,
like maybe that was what you were thinking. You're like,
yeah,
I'd rather
probably.
make
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Timing is everything. Like,
Yeah.
everything you do now, everything you're dabbling at now or trying to figure out now, it's okay because later on it'll be in the back pocket and like, wow, I want to do more. Say, oh shoot, I remember I did this. Oh shoot, I did this and stuff like that. And when you have all those things, like I said, just hone your skills. Side hustles, just hone your skills. Just keep going at it. Keep going at it. If you want to be a tutor online, then do it. Then just keep honing your skills. Be good at it. Do it every week. Take a student, and then in 10 years, you built a business you didn't even know about, which started out as a side hustle. That's what it all is about. It's all side hustle. And to be honest, I even remember when I started my own business, I was doing the same thing. I was just taking, after I left the printing office supply business, I was just taking part-time accounting jobs. I said, screw it, I'm just getting jobs. And that's what happened to me. So those were actually my side hustles that got me a business. So I just took any job I could and just developed the business, and that was it. So that's
That,
in
that's
retrospect, now that I think about it, that was it. That's how I did that.
how'd you branch off from the part-time jobs to like the business?
Oh, I just knew that I was just getting a lot more clients and that I needed to make it a business because I didn't want to be a one-man show. I didn't want to be the one guy, it's Will, it's only, oh, I can only call Will, and
But how did you get the clients while you were working the part-time jobs?
I just, I, I would network and I would talk to the CPAs. I would talk to a bunch of CPAs. Like the clients that I work for, they had their CPA, so I would network with their CPA. Say, hey, you got anybody? You got any extra work and stuff like? And they would just pass me extra work. Once you let people know that you have extra time, they give you work because you know. Actually, it goes back to our whole side hustle thing. So what happened was I did my side hustle was get these part-time jobs, and I kept doing it, did it well. I charged more later on, and I just branched out that way. I just kept networking with CPAs. And because the CPA knew that you did good work because they could see the end result, they just gave me more business and stuff like that.
That could be like me with the taxes.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, like I said, develop the side hustle. Just fine tune it. Don't be discouraged that like you mess up one tax return. You don't know how many times I messed up in business. I messed up so many times. So many people pissed off at me. There are times where I had sleepless nights because people are pissed off at me. But part of business. You're not going to please everybody. You're
And
not
how
going to
did you
make
get
everybody
over
happy.
how would you get over those sleepless nights?
Drinking. I would.
I
I
believe.
would probably. No, I would probably tell myself that I did the best I could. I did what I thought was right. And then you fess up. If I always tell you guys, if I made a mistake, I'll be the first one to say I made a mistake. And don't dwell on the mistake. Figure out the solution. Even like when I tell you, like when you make, like I tell everyone in the office, I don't care if you mess up. Just don't come with me with the problem without the solution. And that's the best way I could teach someone to be. If you're going to run a business, that's the way you should teach people. I don't, there was a time I messed up a payroll and I had messed it up so bad. And my solution was, we'll run another one, it's things like that. You have to get to the point where you can be bigger than your problems. This is one of the other 17, the secret of a millionaire mindset. This is another one of the 17 characteristics that he says. Rich people think bigger of their problems. Poor people think small of their problems. So what does that mean, right? Whatever problem I come up, I mess up a payroll, I, I, I mess up the year end or something. I have to think that I have to be bigger than my problem. I'll get past it. I messed it up. We'll mend it. We'll fix it. We'll do this. We'll do that. you have to think bigger of that. If you want to be small and poor, you dwell on it, you suffer, you think about it that much more, you're never going to go anywhere. So that's probably one of the other things that I learned from
It's just about being smart at the end
yeah,
of the day and
yep,
not being caught up with your emotions.
yeah. That's the whole thing. I mean, we all get rejected, we all get yelled at, we all get we all feel inadequate and stuff like that. But it's your belief in yourself that you know you did the right thing. And you, to your point, that how did I get past it? That's probably how I got past it. You know,
Probably just grew numb to it too.
and no, I grew numb to the fact that I'm not gonna please everybody. And the
Exactly.
fact of the matter is that one way somebody does it one way, then someone else does it another way, and that's all it is. And even when I have clients that are mad at me and they don't want to use me anymore, I just tell them, I tell them flat out, you know, it's just, you know, it's not, it's a way that we work. You know, it's, you expected it this way, and it's just a disagreement. At the end of the day, it's just a disagreement among two people. It's just that you think it should be done this way, I think it should be done this way. It's a disagreement. We don't hate each other. It's just the way it is and stuff like that. And if you go with that in mind, you'll be more successful. If you don't dwell on it and just think like, oh, it's the end of the world. If you just go like, you know what, it's like a relationship. You and I could have a fight. You could say, well, I thought we should do it this way. And I said, Kai, no, we should do it this way. It's just a disagreement, right? It's two different parties thinking two different ways. It's not that I hate you. Well, sometimes I do, but yeah, but it's just the way it is. You know, your opinion and my opinion are totally different. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I think that part of it, I learned to accept that I cannot please everybody. And once you do that, then you're like, okay, okay, people mad, go on. You know, like workers mad, yeah, go on, and stuff like, didn't close the deal, all right. And that's what you have to do. You have to shrug it off. You're like, okay, and stuff like that. Because the more you dwell on it,
It's not
dwelling
going
on,
to help with anything.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't move. It doesn't move the needle of your life. It doesn't say, oh, let me worry about X, Y, and Z. For what? For what?
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah,
All right.
whew,
Well,
a lot to talk about.
yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, no, I'm done now. I mean, it's a good conversation. Like I said, I just, um,
I hope this thing actually saves.
oh man, oh, we got to do it all
Imagine.
over again.
I mean, let's see though, because once
Yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah. All right. You work on that, and I'll talk to you soon.
all right,
Thanks for
thanks for
everything, buddy.
everything. Thanks for everything. We'll
Take
talk.
care. Yeah.